There are said to be more than 5 trillion pieces of plastic waste floating in the oceans. Our guest and his colleagues are looking to change that. The Ocean Cleanup is projecting that it will be able to get rid of 90% of this floating plastic from the oceans.
More than 8 billion tons of plastic waste have turned our oceans into a colossal dumping ground. Our waves now carry the scars of human neglect instead of the taste of salt. Many nations have walked away from this challenge, but the United States refuses to. American engineers aren't willing to watch the ocean die. They engineered a smart collection system that uses the ocean's own currents to guide plastic waste into a capture zone. But what keeps this giant machine running in the wild, unpredictable sea? Each year, more than 20 million tons of debris enter our oceans, and nearly 80% of it is plastic, a material so durable it can survive underwater for centuries. These fragments gather into massive floating garbage zones and silently infiltrate the marine food chain, harming more than 700 ocean species and eventually reaching humans. Environmental organizations believe that if this waste were properly collected and reprocessed, a significant share could be turned into valuable resources, from repurposed plastics and engineered fibers for the textile industry to reclaimed metals. This recovery process saves thousands of kilowatt-hours of energy, prevents millions of tons of CO2 emissions, and supports a circular ocean economy where discarded materials are given new life and purpose. The journey of reclaiming ocean waste begins with retrieval and collection. Harvesting such vast amounts of debris in the harsh conditions of open waters demands advanced technologies deployed in major accumulation zones, like the North Pacific Gyre and the Gulf of Thailand. Here, dedicated cleanup vessels act as the backbone of the operation. Each vessel is equipped with 2 hydraulic mechanical arms that extend outward, sweeping across the water in a wide, fan-shaped pattern to capture drifting debris, from plastic bottles and abandoned bags to lost fishing nets. The collected waste is guided into floating channel systems connected to the ship, then carried along stainless steel conveyors to large storage compartments on the deck. A single cleanup cycle can last 8 to 10 hours, harvesting 5 to 10 tons of mixed marine waste. But not all discarded materials reach the open sea. A significant portion becomes trapped in rivers, reservoirs, and canals long before ever reaching the ocean. Here, the waste builds up into dense layers that restrict the flow of water. In these environments, compact mechanical systems are deployed, most commonly clamshell excavators mounted on dump trucks. Each steel bucket, weighing nearly 1,000 pounds, reaches deep below the surface to haul up mixed debris. Bottles, plastic bags, branches, and even old tires. Each lift can remove 500 to 1,000 pounds of trash, and powered by hydraulic systems. A single crew can clear a river section hundreds of feet long in just a few hours, almost 10 times faster than manual cleanup. Yet, in many coastal regions, waste collection still relies on local fishermen and volunteers, who work under the scorching sun, with small nets and hooks from their boats. Individually, they may retrieve only a few hundred pounds of waste each day, but their work forms the critical first step in the ocean's recycling chain. Once the retrieval stage is complete, the collected waste is brought back to shore by trash skimmer vessels, specialized boats designed solely to capture floating debris. A compact skimmer, roughly 25 to 30 feet long, can accumulate up to 5 tons of material during an 8-hour operation. Once its storage area reaches capacity, a hydraulic conveyor at the bow lifts and discharges the entire load into the receiving zone on land. This is where the first stage of sorting officially begins. The freshly offloaded mixture contains everything from plastics and metals to wood, seaweed, and organic sludge. Workers perform a quick inspection to remove oversized or hazardous items such as steel nets, oil buoys, and tires. The remaining material is shoveled onto a feed conveyor that carries it into the screening system. Inside the sorting line, a rotating trommel drum separates the waste by particle size, sorting out sand, silt, shells, and tiny fragments slip through the perforated openings, while bottles and packaging remain inside the drum. This remaining stream, made up mostly of plastics and nylon, moves onto a manual sorting belt, where workers separate each material category by hand in preparation for the next phase of recycling. Once the detailed sorting is complete, materials like metal, glass, and wood are sent to their own processing lines. Plastic, however, humanity's most durable yet troublesome invention, is set aside to begin its journey toward renewal. Join the Factor in as we reveal how drifting marine debris is transformed into reusable resources that drive a more sustainable future. After the recyclable portion of the waste, mainly plastics, nylon, and metal cans, is separated, it enters the washing stage. This step is critical before any recycling can occur. Ocean debris often spends months submerged in salt water, collecting layers of algae, oil, and microbial growth. Inside the processing zone, the material is fed into a mechanical wash tank. Rotating shafts with paddles create a turbulent flow that scrapes away buildup and rinses out impurities. The wash liquid is mixed with mild cleaning agents and a chloride-neutralizing compound to remove salt and oil residue. In some facilities, hot water between 160 and 180 degrees Fahrenheit is used to enhance sterilization. The cleaning phase typically lasts between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on how heavily the waste is contaminated. Once cleaned, the materials enter a drum washer, where they are spun while high-pressure water streams blast away stubborn sand and algae. Next, a float sink tank separates plastics by density. PET sinks to the bottom while HDPE and PP remain afloat, ensuring proper sorting before the recycling stage. The freshly washed materials then pass through a centrifugal dryer to remove residual moisture, followed by hot air drying at around 170 degrees Fahrenheit. In larger odors and neutralizing bacteria. The recycling facility, the first step is pre-sorting, dividing plastics by type and size to prepare them for advanced processing. While 7 major plastic types exist globally, PET and HDPE are the most efficiently recycled, so the system prioritizes separating these while excluding incompatible materials. Finally, the mixed plastic feed enters a large rotating steel drum. As it turns, small perforations allow dust, sand, and fine particles to fall away, leaving the material ready for the next stage of transformation. As larger bottles continue along the line, this stage provides a coarse size classification, preventing blockages in downstream equipment. The stream then passes through a manual sorting line, where workers remove unwanted items such as metal cans, nylon, and cardboard. An automated cap and label remover uses vortex air pressure to strip away plastic components, while magnetic detectors scan continuously to eject any remaining metal pieces or staples. After this mechanical purification, the material consists almost entirely of clean, uniform PET bottles, ready for the next phase: grinding. The bottles are fed into a high-speed granulator. Inside, hundreds of alloy blades spin at thousands of revolutions per minute, slicing the bottles into small flakes. In just 1 hour, a single machine can process 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of plastic, turning a mountain of bottles into a steady flow of uniform material. Within minutes, these flakes, only a few inches in size, are ready to move through thermal processing systems without causing blockages. This grinding step not only reduces bulk, but also prepares the material for its transformation into reusable resources. Breaking plastic into smaller fragments doesn't just reduce bulk, it also boosts energy efficiency in later stages. Once the material is granulated, it melts faster in the extrusion unit, cutting electricity usage by up to 40% compared with solid plastic chunks. Granulation also provides the first level of size control, ensuring consistent feedstock before precision sorting begins. At the microscopic scale, optical systems take over. High-speed sensors examine each flake, assessing color, clarity, and surface characteristics in mere thousandths of a second. When the system identifies a transparent PET fragment, a green PET piece, a white HDPE particle, or an unrelated material like wood or glass, a jet of compressed air removes it from the flow. One unit can handle more than 1,000 particles per second, maintaining over 95% accuracy. Each air pulse targets only a tiny fragment, weighing less than 1,000th of an ounce, without disturbing neighboring flakes. The result is a stream of clean, uniform plastic, neatly sorted into distinct categories, forming the perfect base for the pelletizing stage. From here, the approved plastic flakes are delivered into a large-scale extrusion unit, ready for transformation. The plastic is heated to around 520 degrees Fahrenheit, where it liquefies and moves along a massive rotating screw. As pressure builds, the molten material is forced through an ultrafine metal screen, capturing any remaining contaminants. The refined plastic melt is then sent into an underwater pelletizing system, where it is instantly chopped into millions of tiny granules, pellets. A closed-loop cooling circuit solidifies each pellet immediately, ensuring a uniform size and smooth finish. These industrial-grade pellets are ready to be used in packaging, synthetic fibers, or molded into brand-new bottles, completing the transformation from discarded ocean waste into a valuable resource. From these recycled PET pellets, the factory moves into the pre-form molding phase, where partially finished shapes are created before becoming full bottles. The material is first checked for consistency and then fed into an injection molding unit, heated to roughly 480 degrees Fahrenheit. In this softened state, the plastic is injected into a steel mold, forming a thick-walled tube with a threaded opening, perfectly designed to fit a bottle cap. Each preform is carefully crafted, ready for the next stage of production. The preforms are engineered to withstand both high temperatures and internal pressure, ensuring stability during handling and the reheating stage required for blow molding. Their compact design makes storage and transportation highly efficient. Many manufacturers specialize in producing these preforms, which are then shipped to bottling plants near consumer regions, a.t. the plant. The preforms are heated until pliable, rubber-like, and ready for transformation. They are transferred into a stretch blow molding machine, where high-pressure compressed air is injected through the neck. The softened plastic expands, pressing firmly against the interior of a metal mold shaped like the final bottle. A preform just 4 to 5 inches tall can stretch nearly 4 to 5 times its original size. Once blow molding is complete, each automated line can produce thousands of bottles in seconds with almost zero defects. Laser-based inspection systems continuously monitor wall thickness, symmetry, and transparency to ensure consistent quality. Beyond standard bottles, the machinery can adjust volume and contour details, allowing for a wide range of custom designs. Once solidified, the bottles gain the mechanical strength needed to withstand internal pressure during filling and transport. The cooling process is carefully timed to maximize production speed while maintaining clarity and rigidity. Before leaving the plant, every bottle undergoes rigorous quality control. Optical sensors, high-resolution cameras, and pressure testing systems detect even the tiniest flaws, including microcracks, ensuring that only perfect bottles reach the consumer. Trapped air bubbles or slight dimensional inconsistencies are carefully checked, and selected bottles undergo mechanical testing for tensile strength, compression, and impact resistance to ensure durability. For bottles intended for food use, additional chemical screening verifies the absence of harmful residues. Only after passing all these requirements are the bottles grouped, stacked onto pallets, and shrink-wrapped for protection. Automated palletizing robots arrange thousands of units with inch-level precision, tagging each batch with a unique traceability identifier. From the central distribution hub, the finished products are shipped to beverage factories, supermarkets, and retail locations, completing the full transformation cycle of recycled plastic. Each newly produced bottle is more than just a consumer product. It embodies a circular technological system where discarded materials are reborn as valuable resources. You've just witnessed the full journey of ocean-bound plastic, from drifting waste to a renewed material cycle powering modern manufacturing. The transformation is far more extraordinary than it might seem. All the information in this video comes from multiple reputable sources, so if you spot anything that needs clarification or correction, please leave a comment. If you believe recycling can shape a better future, leave a like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to uncover more stories of renewal, innovation, and transformation.